Now I request Shree Aravind Sitaraman, Chairman and CEO of What is India Publications Private Limited, to pay his tribute.
Om Sadashiva Samarambam Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Parambaram. Om. Honorable Governor of Tamil Nadu, Shri Banwala Prohutji, Shri Gurumurthy Ji, Shri Ravi Ji, Shri Ramaswamy Ji, my dear friends, it's very hard to pay homage or tribute to such a person, but I want to take you through my own personal experience with Pudu Periva, as he's fondly called by all of us. I must have been probably about 8 or 9 years old when I had the first darshan. My father, who was sitting there, he used to own several businesses. One of the businesses that he had was a petrol station, a petrol bunk. So, Pudu Periva was going to visit some of the houses around Mowbray Road, very influential people. All of them were classmates of my father. And he suddenly got into his head that somehow Periva needs to come to his petrol bunk, which was at the corner of Mowbray Road and C.V. Raman. Yeah, C.V. Raman Road. No, C.V. Ramaswamy Road. Yeah. So, he went around and asked, just like children, you know, sometimes they go ask one parent and the parent says no, they go ask the other parent. He went around and asked multiple people, can Periva come to my petrol bunk? You know, the standard answer was, like any good families, all of them said no, you can't. And he was desperate. He didn't know what to do. So he waited around the corner of the C.V. Raman Road and C.V. Ramaswamy Road, Eldams Road, and he saw Periva coming. The Vadyams had gone forward, the lights have gone forward, and suddenly Periva made a right. And everybody went behind him and said, you know, no, this is not the way, we need to go here. But he said this and he kept walking. So my father had this Usain Bolt moment. He ran very, very fast, came to this place near Mowbray Road where he was going to go. And he said, all of you get into the car. And for once, all his children and his wife didn't argue. We complied. We all got in the car, we raced to the petrol bunk, and in walked Swamiji right there. It was dark, and we prostrated, and he said, petrol bunk, it looks like a petrol bunk, you know, as if we didn't know. And then he went to the people's homes and everything. After that, there was a transformation inside me per se, where I started reading more Bhagavad Gita and other kinds of books, and my grandfather initiated me to those things. And the next time I saw him, I had darshan of him, was in my final year college. I was in the debating team and the quiz team and so on. And there was this extempore competition on Bhagavad Gita, and they nominated me because I was the only person who had actually read the Bhagavad Gita at that time, although I didn't understand too much of it. And when I went to this place, I was surprised to see Swamiji sitting on that dais. So I didn't know what to do, so I followed an advice. My father always said, if you are faced with great opposition or insurmountable kind of situation, surrender to the Lord. So I saw Swamiji, I surrendered to him, he blessed me. I gave the speech, and he called me after that and he said he spoke very well and gave me a prasadam himself. Later on, 6 years later, after I was going to get married to my wife, and her grandfather was a Shree Karyam of the Kanchi Mutt and TNK, and he had taken us to get darshan of Swamiji. And Periva, and he introduced me and he said, Vivekananda College, Bhagavad Gita. And he told him, you know, he's a prize-winning student, he won the prize, I was the one who gave him. And I even forgot which ground it was in. He remembered, you know, Congress grounds, there was this event, and there was a competition on Bhagavad Gita, and he had competed, I gave him the prize. So, and then every time we went in, all I had to say was, I had spoken before you. He said, yes, Vivekananda College, Bhagavad Gita. Many years he would say that. These two stories, essentially what it showed me was, here is somebody, regardless of power, fame, money, nothing, just because there is one bhakta who wanted his attention, even for a small second, he would do it. I mean, Muthuswami Dikshidhar uses this phrase, Navanita Hridayam. Okay, that's basically what it is. It also showed me how it can encourage somebody who may not know something, but gives that person utsagam, right? To encourage somebody to go do something better and to keep pursuing that stuff. So when we came back to India, back in 2000, we went to have darshan, and one of the things he first asked me was, after he said Vivekananda College and Bhagavad Gita, he asked, what is your abhiprayam? Why did you come back? At that time, and this is much before I realized I would be a very terrible politician, I wanted to join politics. And he said, why? And he asked me several questions. And one of the things that he said, I would never forget, is, he said, and my answer was, I want to serve the people, and I want to serve this nation and do something for it. He said, in our sampradaya, it is not just a man that you serve. He taught me Pancha Mahayajnam in a very simplified form. He said, there is Deva Yajna, there is service to God, there is Pitar Yajna, which is service to ancestors. There is Brahma Yajna, service to education, specifically Vedic education. And then he talked about Manusha Yajna, that is service to humanity, and then Bhuta Yajna, service to all systems, all beings in the universe. Simple way of teaching people. Somebody who's not familiar with some of these things. Even though I had read the Bhagavad Gita, it didn't sink to me, but he explained it in such a beautiful way that any idiot would understand this concept. So it didn't matter if you're a Pandita or if you're illiterate. And I've seen him time and again, when somebody comes and asks him a question, sometimes, you think, what a ridiculous question. It's not ridiculous. He will actually spend the time, give this very simple answer to somebody. Then later on, a couple of years, I went to him and I was very proud. I had my 27th patent, and getting one patent is very hard. I had my 27th patent, so I was very proud. And I told him, very well, I got my 27th patent. He said, oh really? And then he asked me a little bit about it, gave me prasadam and said, and as I was leaving, he called me aside and said, there are two kinds of knowledge. I said, very well. He said, there are two kinds of knowledge. One is Paravidya, the other one is Aparavidya. I didn't really understand what he was saying. He said, what you've done is Aparavidya. Aparavidya is all transient science and things that would think. So it struck my imagination and query, and I asked him, so what is Paravidya? He said, it's about understanding yourself. What does that mean, understanding yourself? Then he taught me about how we search for artha and kama in this world, and we have to move towards dharma and then seek moksha, and that path, that ultimate reality of study is Paravidya and Purushartha. The concept of Purushartha, he gave it to me in a few seconds, just like that, which sparked different learning. After 2004, he didn't speak so much, but every time you walked into the room, he would say, did you come just now? He'd just say, with a big smile on his face, this personal connect, I found everywhere. We've traveled on some Matam related work across India, and people would say, Swamiji gave me Akshata because I said I wanted to speak Sanskrit. From that day onwards, I cannot stop speaking Sanskrit. He'd never learned Sanskrit, but he could never stop speaking Sanskrit. In another place, we went to a remote place called Sidhpur in Gujarat. We went looking for this lost book on Atharva Veda. And this is a rice mill owner. He said, oh, Swamiji from Kanchipuram, Shankaracharya, Everywhere in the north, if you go, you ask for you talk about Shankaracharya, they will only think of Puduvariva. Wherever it is, they will only think of him. So he said, come to my house. We went there. He took us upstairs. In that room, the fan was running and everything was in a kind of a mishmash kind of a thing. Saying, why is he bringing me here? Is the obvious question. He said, this is the place where Shankaracharya ji sat and organized a satsang. Every week we organize satsang here. This place is kept exactly as it is. We do satsang in the name of Shankaracharya. Okay, such is the connection that he had with the common person, with the educated person, somebody who's rich, somebody who's poor. That connection and this magnetic power that he seems to draw people to him. Once he draws people close to him, he gives them what they want for their immediate need, and then he gave them what they want for their future as well, and what's good for them. So, unfortunately, he has gone from traditional point of view. However, one has to look at his messages and the feeling that he's left behind in our hearts. Namah Shivaya.